Welcome guys. In today's video, Godlogic takes on a Muslim debater who's clearly in over his head. As the debate unfolds, the frustration builds with every dishonest answer about the deity of Jesus. Stick around to see how this heated exchange ends. It's one you won't want to miss.
You said you were a Muslim?
Yeah. Obviously from my name, I was raised Christian, but I converted.
You was raised Christian
Yeah.
and converted to Islam?
Yeah.
What in the world came over you?
Truth.
Truth? Ain't no way. Truth came over you and you left.
Yeah. Well, I was asking my pastors with what I felt were contradictions in the Bible, and they couldn't elucidate sufficiently. So I was like, yeah, this doesn't make sense.
Did you say
And atheism never made sense to me either. So I thought Islam's the most rational religion. Not converted.
Did you say that they couldn't elucidate the contradictions in the Bible for you?
Yeah, they just said it was a mystery, and I thought, oh, is it a mystery or is it like BS? So.
Wow. Well, okay. Thank you for that word. I will now steal it from you and begin to use it in my everyday vocabulary. So can you elucidate for me, what is it about Islam that is true for you?
Well, I was going to ask you what is the lie, because the main claim is that God is one, isn't it? So
no,
like, how can you even...
The main claim is that you need to believe in Muhammad and follow him and submit to him before you can have faith in anything.
Okay. It says several times that Muhammad's just a reminder and he's not brought anything new. And actually, the first thing a false prophet would do is like make it all about himself. And Muhammad, from the historical records, banned everyone from actually making images of him. So in my mind, that's something no false prophet would do, because obviously a false prophet would be doing all the fake revelations for ego. They'd want people to... I'm Quranist, to be honest. But
you're a Quranist?
Yeah. So I believe
we're about to have a field.
My religion's based on the Quran.
So you don't follow any hadith?
I mean, I think there, like a lot of them probably are sayings of the prophet, peace be upon him. But some of them probably like it's not God's word directly. It's like passed down by Chinese whispers, essentially. So it's not 100% truth. So that's not a religion. It's like,
okay. So just out of curiosity, John, I didn't mean to cut you off. My bad, bro. But just out of curiosity, where did you get it from that Muhammad banned people from making images of him?
That's just been passed down in the traditions. That's just common knowledge, isn't it?
Well, no.
I'm not saying all the hadith are false. I'm not saying they're all false. I'm just saying it's not a religion that you can't. Huh?
How do you know that particular hadith is true?
Because why would they make it up?
Why would they make anything up in the hadith?
Oh, some things like they can make it up because certain people have vested interests in getting a custom adopted in the faith or whatever, or maybe like a ruler wants to get his way, and so he decides to add something to he conspires with a few people and add something to the hadith. And I know there's like a hadith science, but they have weeded out some fake ones in the past, so there's no guarantee that all of them are authentic. But and I just feel like, yeah,
you're literally cherry picking the hadith, and you don't have like a basis of judging what hadith is true or not. It's only just upon maybe like a personal assumption that you'll have.
No, I'm not saying like the hadith. I think if you want to follow them, they can be like a good like case law. Like people did this in the past. You can use it for like jurisprudence or whatever to inform your judgments in the present. But it's not like a religion. It's just like, because the Quran claims to be like a complete book, a complete guidance, and after it was revealed, it said, well, the angel said that Allah has completed his favor upon you and given you your religion. So, like, for me, the Quran is sufficient as religion. And if you want to follow the hadith as like case law and what people did before, then that's fine.
Okay. But, so the Quran, so you mentioned how, like the hadith, it mentions that Muhammad forbade people from making images of him. And
yeah,
in the same collection of hadith, in the, you know, the authentic collection, his wife Aisha, who he really loved, who he was really close to, he loved her, right? That was his favorite. She said, she made mention and said, it seems like your Lord beckons at your will or fulfills your desires, beckons at your desires. So using the hadith, we can kind of see that Muhammad does use Allah as a means to get what he wants.
So based on your logic, what did he want exactly?
Certain women, certain goods, certain authority.
Okay. But wasn't he was a wealthy trader before, and he was from a good family in the Quraysh tribe before he started getting revelations. So he already had like a good standing in society, and he threw that all away for the chance of authority.
Well, he didn't though have good standing in society yet. He was a nobody. He wasn't really anybody yet.
I've heard from all the historical sources say he was like, yeah, his family had a good standing in the Quraysh society, and he was a trader of some kind, I believe. So
you're not Quran only?
No, I'm just saying that's just based on the historical sources, is what I understand to be the case. And in the beginning, he obviously didn't succeed because he got driven out of his homeland and had to take refuge in Ethiopia.
Yes, based on these same historical sources, Muhammad, according to his wife, Allah seemed to give him whatever he wanted and beckon at his desire.
So you don't accept that he had to flee to Ethiopia because they were trying to kill him?
No. I don't not accept that. You know, I'm just saying we need to be able to, if we're going to use Islamic history, right, and appeal to it, then let's do that. But like, so when I bring up something, let's not say, oh, when I do that, you're Quranist, or that could be or not be. You know what I'm saying? I'm not picking and choosing. I want, if that's a source that's reliable for us to be using in this conversation, let's use it. If it's not, let's throw it all out and just be Quran only.
All right, yeah, just throw it all out, to be honest, because based on the book, the Quran itself is very consistent with like what Christians say they believe as well. Because that my question was, what do you object to exactly? Is it that God is one? Like, what else does it really assert?
That God doesn't have a son.
Okay, but well, yeah, but that's just to clarify, I guess, to people who take it literally and anthropomorphizing God, because, like, obviously you don't believe God has a son in the human sense, do you?
I don't believe he had sex, no, but I do believe that he has a begotten son whose name is Jesus.
Begotten meaning what?
Meaning that he proceeded from the Father's own essence.
But didn't everything proceed from the Father's essence?
No.
So God was there at the beginning and he's all that exists, where did everything come from?
He created it ex nihilo.
Where?
Out of nothing. He created it by his power. It doesn't come from his essence. Finite things cannot come intrinsically from the infinite.
But finite things cannot come from the infinite. But you do believe that he breathed his spirit into Adam. So, like, his spirit is what animated Adam at the least, based on the Bible.
You believe that Adam's spirit is uncreated?
I believe that life comes from Allah, and all all life is dependent on his life. We borrow our reality from the one reality at the end of the day. If God is real,
you believe it's created,
if God in the Quran says he is the truth and he created everything out of truth, therefore he created everything out of his own existence. Like,
it's amazing. Jesus says he's the truth too. Isn't that crazy?
Right. So when I was going to ask, so what is your actual complaint against Islam? Like, God is one. What else?
My complaint against Islam is that the Quran contradicts what the prophets teach. It contradicts what Jesus and the rest of the prophets taught. Jesus taught that God has a begotten son, that he is the begotten son of God. The Quran says, nope, you're not. Jesus is not the son of God. Matter of fact, nobody is a son of God in any sense. It says the only way that you can come to Allah is as a slave, not a son. So it knocks out any figurative or literal or any allegorical, whatever, sense that you can be a son of Allah and he be your father.
But Jesus even says in the Bible that he is a slave of God, essentially. He said, whatever God bids me to do, that I do, and whatever he bids me to say, that I say. Of myself, I don't have any power. Like,
he doesn't say as myself.
The definition.
Well, please,
the definition.
You're misquoting Jesus. I got to stop you. You're misquoting Jesus.
Oh,
he never says, without him, I have no power. He doesn't say any of that. What he does say,
he said, of myself, I can do nothing.
There you go.
Precisely.
So by myself, I can do nothing. Only what I see the Father doing. For whatever the Son whatever the Father does, the Son does it the same way. So Jesus just said that he doesn't work alone. He cannot work alone because he's inseparable from the Father. They cannot be separated. So he can't do anything by himself. He's not, he doesn't work separately from the Father. They're perfectly united. But also at the same time, he says that whatever the Father can do, he can do.
Yeah. Okay. So when he says, whatever the Father bids me to do, that I do. Whatever he bids me to say, that I say. That's the definition of a slave, actually.
He doesn't say that.
Because
he doesn't say that.
That is, well, it's not verbatim, but that's the essence of what he said. Well, you quote it then. What did he say?
I just quoted you. So he just says the Son can do nothing by himself, but only what he sees the Father doing. For whatever the Father does, that the Son does it likewise, the same way. So he just said that he can't work separately from the Father. However, whatever the Father can do, he can do it the same way. And he continues, he says, for just as the Father gives life, so the Son gives life to whomever he wills.
I'm pretty sure it does say wherever I see the Father. Well, what does he say? He says wherever the Father bids me say, I say, or something like that. Like and
well,
also he says
he says something along the lines of as I hear, I judge. These words are not mine, but the one who sent me. Stuff like that.
Okay.
That could probably be what you're referring to.
Yeah, okay. So let's assume whatever the Father told him to do, he did. That's the definition of a slave, right? Because the person is not...
I wouldn't say that that's a definition of a slave per se. I would say that that's the definition. It's a servant, but let me ask you this. Children serve their parents, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right, they do what their parents say. They do what their parents told them to do, right? So children are servants of their parents. You can say they're slaves of their parents, but they're not merely servants. They're not merely slaves. They are children. They are sons and daughters of their parents. Right?
So you're saying that God also cares for him, but he is an obedient servant, essentially?
He's a servant. He is a servant, but he's not merely a servant. He's God's son. Sons serve their fathers. So Jesus was doing he's a good son. He serves his father. Now, just because he serves God doesn't take away his identity as the Son of God. It's just showing that he's a good son.
Okay, but could Jesus disobey the Father? Would he disobey the Father?
Nope, he is in perfect unison with the Father. They have the same will, so they can't go against each other. They have the same will, perfect unison. So my point in showing this is that there's a different. Like, let me just ask you. You understand now that there is a difference between a slave and a son, right?
Well, you can be both, right? You could be a slave. True. It even says in Proverbs, it says, bring your servant up as kindly from a child, and then you have a son at the end, or something like that in Proverbs.
Well, I'm not sure about that.
It can be both.
But just going about, you're right. You can be biblically, you can be both a servant and a son. You could be a son who is a servant, right?
So what do you mean by?
Give a big screen. Okay. So it says, we'll start at verse 34 right here. Okay. Can you see it on the screen, or is it too small?
I'm on my phone, so I can't actually read what's on the screen. It's too small. Yeah, you can just read it out loud. So.
All right. So it says, Jesus answered them, truly I say to you, everyone who practices sin is a slave to sin. The slave does not remain in the house forever. The son remains forever. So if the son sets you free, you will be free indeed. All right. So you see how even Jesus makes a distinction between a slave and a son. The slave does not remain in the house forever, but the son remains forever. But not just that, but the son is also an inheritor or an heir of his father's household, right?
Yeah.
So there's a difference.
Yeah, like I said, you could be both. Like, yeah, he's not just a slave. He's also God favored him. So in that sense, he's a.
No, say what he is. He's not just a slave. He's his son, right?
Okay, but when you say son, it's not like God, impregnated a woman and gave birth to him. So it's not a son in the sense that humans understands children, or the way it's not an anthropomorphic son. So that's the only reason to avoid using the word son. He's
the begotten son of God, he says.
Didn't it say when the dove came on him, this day have I begotten you? So he's basically.
No, it doesn't. It says, this is my beloved son in whom I am well pleased. It doesn't say today I've begotten you there.
Didn't it say that?
Nope.
On this day have I begotten you? No. All right. Fair enough.
Look. John 3:16. You said you were a Christian, so you know this. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. Begotten. The Quran says Allah neither begets nor is begotten, right?
Yeah. So what do you mean begotten? That's what I want to understand.
I already told you. He comes from the Father's essence. He is of the Father. He shares the same nature as the Father. The Quran says Allah doesn't beget, nor is he begotten. So Muhammad in the Quran directly contradicts what Jesus teaches, that God did beget.
But wasn't there also a verse in John that said there's three in heaven who bear witness, and that got taken out because it was big?
That has nothing to do with this. I want you to focus, please. Focus. Jesus says that he's the begotten son. The Quran denies that God. The Quran denies Jesus as being God's son, so and it denies that Allah begets. So this is a direct contradiction to what Jesus says, right?
It depends what you mean by beget, to be honest, because you could say God begot the whole world because he created it.
Show me in the Quran where it says that Allah begot the world.
He created the world. So if by beget you mean he created it.
No, show me where it says he begot it.
Well, that's just semantics, but it depends what you mean by the term.
It's semantics. No, words have meaning, man. And when Allah says he doesn't beget, You're saying, oh, well, it depends on what sense you mean. So Allah doesn't really mean that he doesn't beget. It means that he does beget. Just in a
I'm saying he creates, but he doesn't like have a consort that he has intercourse with to beget a son the way humans do. So that's what the Quran is saying.
Or not? Because I'm just wondering if you even respect the Quran more than me at this point. Does Allah beget or not?
Well, he creates, but he doesn't have sex and give birth to children.
So
if that's what he
beget or not?
Well, look. Can you look up the definition of beget? Doesn't it mean?
I just want to know if he begets. That's all I want to know.
No, he creates.
So he does not beget?
If by beget you mean create, then he does beget. But
thanks, John. I'm gonna just let you go with this, man. If you're gonna have these.
Oh wait! I never even got to my question. Actually, we've just been discussing random things.
John, don't cut me off, please. At this point, what you have shown is that you're dishonest intellectually. You're dishonest with your own verses. You can't be honest about what your own verses say, and so because of that, you waste my time. You waste my time, man. So
I'm surprised you're angry. I've been very polite, actually.
Continue this conversation with you if you're going to be dishonest about your own text.
So why am I dishonest? Because I'm just saying the way I